and some hogs.
What up, what up, what up, man? I'm a little early. I know I told you guys 11 o'clock, but we want to get this thing started. Watch, they're going to be popping on shortly. Just let you know, you'll see how many people get on right there. Same thing with this one, is up in the corner, but we don't worry about that. What's good, man? Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Let's get it cracking. There they go. See, said my connection is weak, but it'll be what it'll be. Houston, what up with it? Percy, what it do? Quentin, what it do? Colin, what up with it? All my YouTube fans, what it do? I can't call it Colin, just sitting here chilling, man. HD Road, what up with it? Tiara, Big Ty, what up? Miss Carla Whitehead. Look who I'm with, Carla, look who I'm with.
That's my sis.
Hey, man, that's my baby. She know I love me some her. Hey, T. What up, man? They say, Quentin say good morning to my guests. Adrian, what it do?
Morning.
Ed, Zoe, what's happening with it, man? Let's get these numbers up so we can get this thing started, man. Today, you guys are in for a real special treat, man. Trust me. I'm all the way somewhere where I don't know where I'm at. Donald, what it do? I've never been on this side of Atlanta before, though. So we in the heart of Atlanta, man. We down here deep, man. You know what I'm talking about? This is the first time I ever took that exit on 285, from 20 to 285. So, you know, normally when you get on 20, you go to 285. There's that one exit. I had to take that one today, so.
You're in Flatland.
I'm in that's what it's called, Flatland?
Flatland, yeah.
Okay.
In the Ville.
In the Ville?
Mm-hmm.
This Mechanicville? Or
Adamsville.
Adamsville. Okay, well, see, learn something new every day. I'm in Adamsville, yeah. I keep telling you I'm certified. What up with it, Donald? What up with it, Quentin? All right, listen. Today live broadcast is going to be about history, man. We're going to go over and talk about the history of the Atlanta motorcycle set. Sweet Tea, I call her sis. You know, I don't call her Sweet Tea, but I just call her sis. Miss Teresa. She's been around on the set, man, in Atlanta for over
30 years.
Over 30 years.
32 years.
On the motorcycle, not just here in Atlanta, but on the motorcycle set.
Yeah.
32 years.
Yeah.
So today we're going to get some of this history, man, and we're going to keep, what up with it, Keith? We're going to go over and just talk about, man, from then to now, man. And again, my whole purpose for these videos and these interviews is to give you guys some sense of pride and some history and to know some things, man. So when you hear some things and you go to talking about things, you know what you're talking about, and it's coming from vets, people that's been here before us, people who saw all of the transitions. And y'all know me, I'm not going to take it easy on it, so we're going to ask some real tough questions. And, you know, we're going to get it together, man. I keep saying my connection is weak. I think this was, let me see. That's about as best as it's going to get, so it's going to have to work.
You can't click into my Wi-Fi.
You got a code for it?
Yeah, I have to go get it. I don't know what it is right off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you want to, we can, but if not, it's okay. It'll be all right. It'll get better.
Okay.
All right, so introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, I'm Teresa Sweet Tea Sykes.
Sweet Tea Sykes.
Everybody knows Sweet Tea. Golden Hawks.
Golden Hawks. First question, how long you been Golden Hawks?
I've been with the Golden Hawks since about 1980. About 1980. Yeah.
Good Lord have mercy.
A little bit before then, but not officially.
1980. So the Golden Hawks the only club you ever been with?
Officially?
Yeah.
No, I was with the Super Riders at one time. I was also a sister club when I was in a social club with the Super Riders. I did a thing with the Pacesetters, did a thing with the Outcasts, and with the Born Losers.
Okay.
You know, but always home with the Golden Hawks.
Always home with the Golden Hawks.
Yeah.
So how long are you born and raised here in Atlanta?
Born and raised right here.
Born and raised in Atlanta.
Born and raised right here where you sit.
So, being here all of that time, what brought you to the motorcycle set?
One day, down the street here, this guy's got this bike. I knew him. He went to high school with some of my neighbors across the street, and he came up the street. I was 16.
Okay.
And he asked me if I wanted to ride. And I mean, I'm thinking it looks cool because I already like fast cars.
Okay.
I was always on the powder puff track, racing 3 speeds, 4 speeds down Simpson and whatever, doing the 68, 69 Chevelle era. Okay, so I jumped on this bike and immediately I burned my leg because I hit my leg on the tailpipe.
Okay.
Had no idea. And didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to look bad, like I didn't know what I was doing. So I rode around the corner in the street back with my leg.
So you rode the bike, you didn't get on the back?
No, I mean, I was on the back.
Okay,
Yeah, I was
okay.
on the back. I got on there with my leg hurting for a good while.
Okay.
Since then I learned I didn't know any better, but that was the first thing. And he was a golden hawk,
Okay.
Fox. He was a golden hawk, and from that day on, that was my introduction into the golden hawks, into the bike set, because I just loved motorcycles, fast cars, fast motorcycles.
I can imagine back then, women or a woman on being affiliated with the motorcycle set probably was a little difficult back then.
Very difficult. Women were known as whores. There were all kind of myths, different things that you had to do and what you didn't have to do, being on the bike set, and you were looked at a little bit differently. So,
Renegade Barrett.
excuse me.
So you looked at it.
You were looked at a little bit differently, and they figured you didn't have jobs, and you just run around with gang of guys and stealing and doping and all that, and that really was not the case. The brothers took care of the sisters. We took care of them. They protected us whenever we went anywhere. We didn't go anywhere without them. But the main thing they did, they taught us how to ride motorcycles.
Okay.
And that was definitely something that was taboo at that time. No, you could not join a club. Because that definitely was not heard of, but you could get away with riding a motorcycle, and people look at you differently riding a motorcycle. You didn't have one, but the guys taught you, the guys let you ride. The camaraderie and the love that was just, that surrounded you was just, phenomenal. I didn't have any sisters, only had one brother. He was 5 years younger than me. So these gangs, as they wanted to say back then, which they were clubs, they were my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard you mention briefly, and we'll get into it a lot more, where you say women were definitely not allowed in a motorcycle club.
They were not allowed. No. I can remember going to the Outlaws down in Camilton, because at one point in time, the Golden Hawks and the Outlaws, we would visit each other's clubhouses, and it wasn't no big deal. It was us on that side of town and them down on Camilton Road. They were the white group, so nobody really paid that much attention to them, but we were all family. Yeah. And we stepped up in there one night with the brothers. We were out, just all hanging out, somebody's bike night, and we stopped by there, and the reception, we had to kind of stand over here in the back and be in the background, because it just was not, women just weren't allowed there,
But I mean, even now, like you spoke of the Outlaws, which is the white motorcycle club here in Georgia.
Right.
Why we don't have that connection now? What severed that connection?
Now that is, to tell you the truth, I really don't know what severed that. Back during that time, like I said, we visited them, they visited us. They got into a little trouble with Internal Revenue and with the law and a couple of things that were going on down there. So it got to a place we could not go to them anymore.
Okay.
Had to stay away. They came back, and there was some other issues that were going on with some things.
So was
across
it
the
ever a
United
race
States.
issue? Was it ever a race
At
thing?
that time, it had nothing to do with race.
Nothing.
Nothing to do with race at all. They took care of that side of the town. We were on this side of the town.
When you say that side of the town, you're not talking about the blacks and the whites. You're just saying
No, just side of the town that they were on.
Okay.
You know, as far as people visiting and also during that time there was also, say, not a limit on how motorcycle clubs popped up or whatever, but I don't know, maybe it was just an unexplained rule. You had to check with certain people, you had to get to know certain people. You just couldn't pop up and start putting motorcycle clubs all over the place.
Yeah.
From the Golden Hawks came the Outcasts.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me ask you this: Born Losers is the oldest club here in Georgia, correct?
Born Losers was always the other club because they were always on the other side of town. Going from here to Born Losers, it's like you coming here from home. That was a long ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so Born Losers, Windjammers, Top 10, they all did their thing on their side of town. Anniversaries, we would visit, but in between time, we
Y'all
didn't.
never really saw them.
Except for the beer run that the Born Losers had at the time. Where the Born Losers are now, they weren't there. Okay, evidently they were out by a lake.
Okay.
Little shack out by the lake, and we had the best funs. We had camp outs probably every weekend because that's what we did.
Okay.
They did their camp outs on their side of town, and then there was a place down here off of Fulton Industrial where we had camp outs on this side of town. But they had that beer run, and it wasn't the same way that it's been done now.
Okay.
We actually hunted for little eggs and little prizes to get beer or to get money or to get different things. It was like a big grown-up Easter egg hunt.
Okay.
Okay. And you paid so much money to be a part to do that, and they sold food, and naturally they had beer.
Yeah.
And the people on this side of town that did the beer run was the Easy Nights and Griffin.
Okay.
They would have the beer run. And I sat down and I thought last night about Born Losers and Easy Nights having beer runs, and I'm thinking, wonder why sometimes they were the only somebody that had beer runs. But when I think about it, I think about all the clubs then that had clubhouses. Nobody really had a yard or any grassy areas to do anything like that. Everybody had their clubhouse. It was sitting on a slab or whatever, but there was no grass around.
Okay.
So I suppose that's one reason why they did. But that was an event that was looked for and looked to every year. Easy Nights and their beer run, Born Losers and their beer run. But as far as the city itself, the Golden Hawks was the oldest.
Okay. So Golden, when you say the city inside of Atlanta, we're talking about in Atlanta.
Right, in
Metro Atlanta.
Yeah, in Metro Atlanta.
So
right.
Golden Hawks was the one the club that were they the only club that had a clubhouse here in Atlanta?
Well, during that time, all clubs that were motorcycle clubs had a clubhouse.
Oh, so that was standard procedure.
That was just standard procedure. If you started a club, Outcast started off and they didn't have a place and they met in a little house. Super Riders didn't have a place at the time, and then they ended up on Boulder Park down here, meeting at the end of the street in a little house. Everybody started. Golden Hawk started off at a little house over there off Bankhead. Everybody had a little house that they started off in, but this was just a regular little house shack like. But they eventually all got clubs, and there was not one motorcycle club in the Atlanta or surrounding areas that did not have a clubhouse.
So that was standard procedure.
Standard procedure. And Outcast came along, and they were sort of like the governing body. At one point, we had a board, I suppose, made of the few clubs that we had to sit and govern clubs that came in, how they came in.
But if you're saying that it wasn't that many clubs, then why was the board needed?
Because people were starting to come. You had little people that started jumping up, riding motorcycles and want to call themselves a motorcycle club. But
So how many clubs when you first started?
okay,
How many clubs were there?
okay, you had Golden Hogs.
Okay.
You Outcast came along. Super Riders. You had Street Lords. They were on McDaniel Street. Cobras were on Northside Drive. At that time, the strikers started. They started on Bankhead. You had the Pace Setters. Pace Setters were on Bankhead. Super Riders were on Bankhead. You had Born Losers, Rock Riders, Windjammers, Top 10 on that side of town. Easy Nights down in the south. That pretty much.
That's about 10 or 11 clubs.
That's pretty much it.
Were the clubs, did the clubs have a lot of members in? Was it like 50 members per club or just 10, 15?
At one point in time, the Hawks, I can remember at one time when you included, and they did include Property of, if we went to go for trophy counts or anything. But yeah, we had about 50 at that time.
Okay.
Born Losers probably had the largest amount of anybody.
Okay.
And then Super Riders, when they came along, Super Riders, if you're talking about the members and the Property of, Super Riders had about 50. When we would go somewhere, we'd always get the trophy. The other clubs were smaller. Outcast came along and they boosted their numbers over the years and got huge boosted numbers. But a lot of the people that were here, they came in, because Outcasts always had people that were here from out of town. They would come in and stay sometime a couple of months or two from Michigan, from different places, and they would still be a part of the club. Nobody else really had that at that time but the Outcasts.
Okay.
So
Outcasts kind of formed themselves here in Atlanta
from members of the Golden Hawks.
Oh, from Golden Hawks?
From members of the Golden Hawks, yes.
Okay.
Kickstand was a member of the Golden Hawks. Okay. I could name several that, I suppose maybe some people know and some people didn't know, but 3 members from there came from the Golden Hawks, and they went to Detroit and talked to the people up there, and they came back and they started the Outcasts. So at that point, that was just the Outcasts and the Golden Hawks.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the city of Atlanta.
In the city of Atlanta, right. James Gang was over on Murphy Avenue.
So they've been around a long time too. Huh?
And I tell you who else. Black Romans were over there where the Vikings are now.
Black Romans?
Black Romans. That's where the Black Romans had their clubhouse, in that particular space, where the Vikings have theirs now. So, because even during that time, the strikers had not even started. I remember when the strikers started in a little place there on Bankhead, and then they moved to the Greasy Hill on Decatur Street. But even during that time, the strikers had not even started. Yeah, so.
You mentioned a lot of clubs that we've never heard of. We never said they just faded out.
Pace Setters is no longer. Super Riders no longer. Still got the colors hanging in the closet.
Of what? The
Super Riders and Pace Setters. Yeah,
Wow.
I still got the colors hanging in the closet. But it was a family. Everybody had their bike night. Tuesday night, I think, was James Gang. Wednesday night was the Cobras. Thursday night was the Strikers. Friday nights always belonged to the Golden Hawks.
Okay.
And we did the same thing. We went bike night to night to night to different.
But it was at that time. It was strictly going to Clubhouse. You guys.
We didn't go nowhere. But no, you wouldn't even. Well, first of all, they wouldn't even allow us probably to be at a club or any other institution with a bunch of bikers anyway.
Was it rowdy back then?
It was not rowdy.
Yeah.
Depending on how you call rowdy. Okay.
Y'all know y'all was a bunch of hooligans, man.
Yeah. We drank plenty, and we slept on the bikes plenty of times on the ground by the curb. It wasn't no going to no hotels.
Yeah.
Getting no hotels when you went out. It wasn't none of that. First of all, if you went to a club's anniversary or something, 9 times out of 10, you were going to stay. If they didn't have any place for you to camp out, or you just got drunk and you just slept on your bike, you stayed in the clubhouses.
Whoa.
Everybody stayed in the clubhouse. You didn't go anywhere. You stayed there all night. They took care of you. They fed you breakfast. You had somewhere to sleep. If there was not a room in the clubhouse, especially with ladies, when you went to clubhouses like that, somebody would take you home to their house to stay.
Okay.
You would go to president's house, vice president's house, or this person's old lady's house. Somebody would take you in and let you go to their house to stay. And then you come back to the clubhouse, you'd have your breakfast, you have your little goodbye, and they'll send you on about your way. Yeah, hotels were non-existent. First of all, if you did go somewhere in a hotel, I don't even know if they would let you stay during that time, because that signified the gang and that looked rowdy, and I guess they figured we were going to come in there and steal and rob and pillage their ladies. So that was that. I mean, it wasn't even thought of. You stayed at the clubhouse.
Whoa.
When we went to Daytona, you stayed on the curb, you stayed on the corner, or at that time in Daytona, you could really, really, really camp out all different places. And you didn't stay in hotels because you couldn't get one anyway. They probably didn't let us there. And even Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
Myrtle Beach, I remember Myrtle Beach, you camped out.
Okay.
You camped out on the beach.
Yeah.
The Golden Hawks always had that little end down on the far end around in that curve there. And that's, you stayed on the beach. In Daytona, you stayed, you always camped out. So hotels, when people start getting hotels and staying in hotels, it was kind of,
Kind of weird.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Like, that ain't no motorcycle
That ain't no
stuff.
motorcycle stuff. Y'all ain't about this life here. Please.
Y'all done got, you see anything say y'all done got soft, man. You niggas ain't about that motorcycle life, man.
Yeah, that was just not what you did. Because you have to remember now, we started out riding 750 Hondas on that hard, with you riding from here to Augusta, say, on that. You had to have your stuff together because that was a hard ride.
Yeah.
And you got off. You had to get back on to come back, but you got used to it.
Yeah.
You really got used to it. And during that time, I know they don't do it now, but during that time, say we made a trip like to Daytona, and guys, you riding with a guy on the back, and y'all wrote down something. He gets tired. They pull over. All the guys that had girls on their bikes knew how to ride bikes, and the girls would take over and they ride the bike.
No,
guys
sir.
back up the road.
No,
yes,
sir.
They did.
No, you're not finna.
Yes, they did.
No, you're not. You're not finna tell me that no guy was on the back of no man.
Yes, they
no,
did.
Man.
Yes,
hey,
they did. We drove.
We don't believe that.
We drove the bikes.
No, ma'am.
Yes.
No, ma'am.
And I could call some clubs that did it.
No, ma'am.
Yes.
Ain't no way in the world you finna tell me
that
if you had a woman on the back of your bike, she knew how to ride. First, so she had to know how to ride even to be associated with basically.
Kind of sort of, because she had to be about that life. If she didn't like that, then she really didn't associate her. It's not the way it is now. Girls come and, they just hang with the guys because they're dating them, whatever. But, at that time, you really had to be about that life.
So you telling me, what you're saying is, you're saying that if a female that knew how to ride was on the back of a bike and he got tired, she would have to take
Most
over.
of the time he was drunk. More than tired. Most of the time he had been too much to drink.
So alcohol and the motorcycle set been together for a long time.
Oh yeah, long time. long time. Yeah.
But you're saying that she had to know how to ride, and when he got too drunk and tired, she would have to drive and he would hold on to her on the back.
We would have to ride the bikes back.
Hey, that's amazing right there. That is truly amazing.
I'm
with you, Kelvin. No way, man. No way, man.
I can tell you about a trip that I had to make coming back from Birmingham, from a Lowriders anniversary.
No, you got any pics of that?
I
she meant to get her. She had the whole thing.
A whole thing with them. I was going to have those out because some of the people, I'm pretty sure, I'd have to get permission before I showed them anyway, because they would not have wanted these pictures, especially for some people to see. But and remember here it said during that time it was Golden Hawks and Outcasts, so that was it. But I came back. I had a lot to drink myself that night, and we didn't stay up all night. I really wasn't trying to come back, but coming back from Birmingham, then I don't know if it was a punishment to me or, because I don't see folk was drunk or tired, that I had to drive back. And I'm pissed because my head is knocking, but I had to do that. That was, you.
And he was on the back holding on to you.
I had to do that.
And he was on the back holding on to you.
Well, they don't hold on, but they sitting back there, right? So anyway,
Hey, man.
we get to Anniston. And and my head's knocking. You know how it is when you're coming down past those transfer trucks early in the morning, and that stuff kind of pulling you over, and you trying to pull over here, and you already got your head hurt, and it's booming. It's like by the time I got to Anniston, it's like I know folk in Anniston. When I get to Anniston and we get ready to gas up,
Yeah.
I'm getting off this bitch.
Yeah.
I'm getting off this. I'm going down here to these riders, and somebody's gonna take me back home. But I am not doing this anymore. And that was so. And but there were a lot of situations. My girl Hollywood took a lot of stuff to the grave with her, because back during that time, going back and forth to Birmingham and Anniston, it was Tuscaloosa, it was off the chain. Huntsville, Lucky 7-Eleven, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And see, going to St. Louis, the Crown Royals, or going to Wisconsin to Throttle Tours. Oh,
So y'all used to ride like that back then?
we,
St.
let me
Louis is a
tell
nice
you,
ride.
but let me tell you,
What you call
but
it a nice
let me
ride?
tell you here again. If we left here going somewhere out of town,
Okay.
we rode a motorcycle.
Period.
Period.
Yeah.
We went to Daytona. Wouldn't have never thought to go to Daytona and not been on a motorcycle. It just wasn't heard of. We just wouldn't do that. You ain't going to Daytona bike week without no bike. So when you had property of, which most clubs at that time all had property of, that was the norm. I had a van, and we get in the van, we get all ladies in the van, and then we go down. Plus, we would also be the ones that would pull the trailer.
Okay.
So in case somebody broke down or what have you, there would be, trailer there to put the bikes on, and we keep on doing whatever we're doing. So there was always that vehicle that was.
So you guys always had a chase vehicle.
Yeah,
Everybody was on
right,
bikes, but it was always that one chase vehicle.
Right.
And you said the
and
property
most of the time,
property.
property were doing that. Yeah.
Okay, now we're speaking on, for you guys just now checking in, we're speaking on the early history of the Atlanta motorcycle bike set. And what actually brought this on, man, is that we've lost a couple of our G's recently over the last couple of years. And Auntie called, Teresa called and said, hey, I really would like to document some of this stuff and give some history. Not to correct anybody or not to do anything, but just to put it out there, man, so that whoever wants to know can know. Whoever wants to learn or whoever wants to hear it will hear it. And that's what we're doing today. So we're talking about over 30-something years ago. Back then, property of, what did property of stand for?
Property of what it stood for. Most of the time, if you were property of back then, you were either the wife or girlfriend of one of the members in the club.
Okay.
There were some clubs that were allowed to have more than one property, and most guys did have more than one property.
Okay.
They had their wife, they had their girlfriend, or they had an extra friend. Most guys had 2 or 3 vests, so when we went out of town, whoever was with them at that particular time on that particular day, they put the vest on, they won, so they could get shown.
So the guys held the property of vests?
The guys held the property of vests.
So the women didn't get to take it and go home?
The women only got to do that if they were married to them, or this was their, they were married to them. Most of the time, the guys kept the
so
the vest.
if they met somebody that they was messing with that weekend, they could actually give her a property of vest to put on?
Yes, they could. Yeah,
Okay.
they could. And they took it back.
Yeah.
And like I said, most guys had 2 or 3 vests. I know some of the hogs still got 2 or 3 vests. Okay? So, but, that was just what it was. But basically, we took care of things guys didn't take care of. We did cooking. We would wash. Not only wash clothes for your old man, but you would have certain people that would wash. Like say Big Gwen in the Golden Hogs at one point, she had a washing machine, so we would go over there and they 2 or 3 or 4 guys take their clothes over there and we wash their clothes.
Yeah.
We cooked. It would never be a day that some Sundays, if we didn't cook at the clubhouse, somebody at their house over here, my mama, me, myself, Big Gwen, Pooh, them, and I can whoever the property of, somebody was gonna cook.
Okay.
And everybody was going to come over and they were going to eat. Hollywood and the Strikers, Brenda in the Strikers.
So
there were no
somebody's asking, is the property? Are you asking is the property of just a 1%er thing, or is that just a? Because Golden Hawks is not 1%.
Right. At that time, it was not a 1%er thing. Okay. No, I'm noticing now that people are saying that this was the case, but back then. There were not that many 1%er clubs here. Okay. And those that did, they had property up, but all the other clubs had.
So property up was just a regular thing, period.
Right. It was just that was what the women were.
Because they had to have that in order to hang out.
Right. Basically. Women were not allowed to be members. Period. Women really were not allowed around. But if you were associated with it and you would spend that much time, there was no such thing as support. Or anyway, if you were a woman,
if you was there hanging out, you had a property of vest.
You had a property of vest. Social and savings clubs came along. Okay. Because I was a member of the Socialites, and we were sister club to the Super Riders when they were around. And you would come to their tea. We'd have teas on Sunday, and they would help the guys out, and what have you. And they would escort us when anniversary come and all that kind of stuff. But women just didn't hang around the motorcycle club unless you were with somebody. Mm. And basically, you really didn't hang around there unless you knew somebody anyway. Because most people, I understand, were just scared to go into a motorcycle clubhouse. Period.
So, and that's one thing I spoke on too. I remember my uncle was in a club back in L.A. and it was always a private thing. Mm-hmm. It was always a private thing. Was it really that private back then?
Yes, it was. And here again, you just couldn't walk up into a motorcycle club unless somebody, at first, especially with women, you didn't walk up into a motorcycle club unless somebody invited you there.
Period.
You had to be invited. And no strange guys weren't coming in there unless they came with a member, or here again, they were invited there. Yeah. You just didn't come up in the motorcycle club. And like I said, people did not even want to because they just had this idea that we were so sinister. Okay. And that it was always amazed some of my coworkers and some of my friends when I would take them to the motorcycle club and they actually had a good time. It was not the perception of what they thought it would be. And they were treated with the utmost respect. And they actually had a good time and always wanted to come back. It was just this status thing or whatever, I don't know, thing that they would not come back and frequent because they just assumed they should not be there, weren't supposed to be there, or not supposed to be there. Okay. Whatever learned or taught behavior that they had. So, but generally, everybody, we always had a good time. All the clubs together. There was, we did have a summer back about 1984. I want to say 83, 84, when we did have a problem.
You said we go to Hawks?
No, the bike set itself.
Okay.
There was an issue with the Cobras and some other people about a woman and somebody taking a vest, and it all completely got messed up and got out of hand, and that got to be a problem because you know how it is about these vests. You don't touch them, you don't put them down, and you're definitely not going to have some guy going to come and take a vest from another woman belonging to somebody else. So it created a war that summer, and all the clubs had to go to a divide. They didn't hang together. People went off to New York. We had to rally money to get people out of jail.
It was that bad, huh?
It was that bad. It was bad. That was a hell of a summer.
You said that was summer '84?
I want to say summer '83 or '84, somewhere like that. Yeah.
So, from the clubs that you see now, I mean, and what you see now, are you happy with it? With the bike set today? Give it to him
No,
raw now.
I'm
Give it to
not.
him.
I'm not. It hurts me to see the animosity and the hatred and I don't know, the competitiveness, or I don't know. We're a group. We like motorcycles. This is a hobby. Um this is
You couldn't
recreation.
say back then. You couldn't say this was a hobby or this was recreational, or could you?
You could, I mean, well, that was the only thing that could be back then. But we didn't have all the fancy bikes and all the motorhomes, and people trying to have the better bike than this one or the faster bike than that one.
Yeah.
We were. This
None
was
of that mattered at all.
none of that mattered at all. You didn't have to be in a club, and everybody. When the Outcast first started out, believe it or not, most of the folk that started off with Outcast, all of them had darn Hondas. Everybody had Hondas back then.
Yeah.
If you had a Harley and you were lucky enough to get the Harley, which there were people in the Hawks that were lucky enough to get a Harley back then, but they were raggedy. They spit oil all over the place. Every time you stopped, you had to do something to
Yeah.
it. So and then too, hey, I don't think there were too many Harley dealerships that would have sold one to us if we'd had the money anyway.
You said us blacks.
Blacks, right?
Okay.
It wasn't that kind of thing. You would, if you had, when we first started out like that, and we had Harleys, and we would go to Daytona and what have you. We were shunned and we were cussed out, and
Yeah.
some of the white folk really, really, really took a real disliking to black folk with them Harleys. It made me change the way I felt about Harleys after a while, because I thought they didn't want us to have them, so we didn't need them.
Yeah.
That was America's bike, but that sure wasn't nothing but like the sound of it and how it fell on my butt.
So, I mean, the history that you have coming from the stuff we're going through now with the racism, the Black Lives Matter movement, the police killing blacks and all that. I mean, you dealt with that at a lot of your earlier age, or no? Was that here in Georgia? Was that actually, did Georgia have that race problem back, when you were coming up?
I went to school with the King children, the young children. We went to Southwest. We helped to start and integrate the school back then. I tell you, it was a race problem, because during that time, I suppose everybody was all up about it, and they were wanting better schools, they were wanting a better life, and in order to do that, they had to infuse with the whites in order to get that, because they had a better standard of living than we had at that time.
Okay.
But growing up as I did on this side of town, what you see now, which
predominantly black.
No, it was predominantly white. There were no
What?
blacks out here when my mom and daddy moved out here.
Whoa.
Okay, not at all. So, my dad worked for white folk. He wouldn't even work for black folk, because
Okay.
black folk didn't pay and they didn't do right. He was a contractor. So I grew up around a lot of whites. You said yes, ma'am. You said no, ma'am. You stayed in your place. They helped you out and they gave you things. They were always friends. They called your grandmama's auntie, and everybody stayed in their place because they knew where to be and how to be, and you didn't cross that line.
Okay.
So there was never a problem stirred up. I guess we were comfortable with it because we didn't have that problem.
So is that what attracted you to the motorcycle set? Maybe because of that lure of, hey, these guys are doing their own thing, maybe, or they're doing something different than the actual normal safe thing?
Well, I think one of the things I was looking for was family.
Okay.
Like I said, I had one brother. All my relatives are down in Pine Mountain, Columbus, LaGrange, and Alabama. So none of my relatives were here that I really grew up with. I would always have to go there to see them. And I was always a tomboy.
Okay.
Hung around my daddy. I went fishing. Learned how to change oil in my car. If something happened with the carburetor, you knew how to straighten it out. They, get the car started if you ran out of gas back then. You know, I used to pour a little gas over in there. Yeah. You know, you learned all this kind of things because I hung around guys. And when they started driving 3 speeds and 4 speeds and 5 speeds, whatever, I always wanted to do that. But I guess I just had big brothers. They were like big brothers to me because I didn't have a big brother, and it just drew me in. It intrigued me.
So, the myth that a female hanging around a motorcycle club that you had to fuck one of the members or be fucking one of the members, is that correct or no?
That is truly a myth. That is definitely a myth. If you wanted to do that, and that was the thing that you wanted to do, you were allowed to do that.
I'm pretty sure you.
Okay? But that was not something that you
had
to do.
Yeah.
People say that the folk that did it, I suppose, did it because they wanted to.
Yeah.
And those that didn't want to didn't have to. There were a lot of things that went on, and you saw a lot of things.
Yeah.
That people did.
Well, I can imagine if you didn't have no hotel room, everything went on in the clubhouse. There was some freaky shit going on in the clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, you know a lot. But here again, those were the things that, like what they say was done in Vegas, stayed in Vegas.
Uh-huh.
You know, as part of the set, this was part of the set. This was, everybody went out here talking about this one over here doing this and this one over here doing that. So this lady was with this, or she jumped from this club to that club.
Yeah.
And blah.
Can y'all imagine right now being at the clubhouse and watching some people fucking and getting down and you know what I'm saying? You motherfuckers couldn't even handle this shit like that. Y'all be on Instagram, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Hey, but people stayed in their lane. People mind their own business. If you were having a good time, you were having a good time. I mean,
that's what they call it, having a good time.
You were having a good. They were doing whatever they did. You were over here doing whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
Nobody bothered them. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, people loved each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People really, and they would. Even though it may not seem to look like, people respect it. Like I said, they over there, that's their thing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? We over here, this our thing. People respected each other and stayed off folk business like that. If you actually saw somebody doing something wrong, you were allowed to yank their chain. You could tell them about it, or but people were loyal.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, people were.
That's one of the things I'm trying to preach now, loyalty.
People were loyal. This what we got going on now. No. I question the loyalty of a lot of people. Ain't got nothing to do with me, but there are a lot of people on the set that just are not trustworthy. They just aren't.
I didn't say that. She said.
So, what you see ain't always what you get. And the treachery and the backstabbing and the hate. I don't understand.
So that shit couldn't exist.
Oh, it would not have existed
back then.
First of all, like some of this stuff that's going on with these ladies and all, and you bringing it up in the clubhouse. You had a property of you were responsible for. You took care of that right then. Period.
Yeah.
You didn't have no problem with no wives. You didn't have no problem with no girlfriends, boy, wives, whoever, side chick, however y'all want to talk. Everybody knew their place. Everybody stayed in their place, and they didn't create no confusion. If things got out of line, guys took care of that. They didn't come back no more. Boom. You didn't have that. Done deal. You didn't have that. Plus, two, you were taught, I guess, unspoken rules they had. And when you walked up in here, that was something you didn't have. You didn't bring it in here anyway. If you bullshit up in when you come through that door, that clubhouse, if you liked me or didn't like me or whatever,
you didn't give a fuck.
Didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Y'all took care of it while you were there. When you got outside that door, y'all could be whatever or go back to Cinderella or whatever. But as long as you in here, you didn't have that. You didn't have that.
Yeah.
And you came here to get along. You pick these group of people to be with because you like them.
Period.
There was something about them that you liked, their smiles, their camaraderie, their friendship, and you chose to be in clubs that you
For that reason.
because
So it wasn't because that club was popular.
not because it was popular, not because you want to come in and make it something else. You did not make the club fit you. You fit the club. And if you did not fit that club, you didn't join. Probie period sometimes. I mean, I've seen outcasts give probie sometime a year or two before they allow them to come in.
A year or two
Before they even allow them to come in, because the extent I've watched some of them start off, go for a minute, and then go back and stay going 2 or 3 years, and then come back and start their process again. Being a probie back then for a motorcycle club, it was no easy job, and it was serious.
Yeah.
It was dead serious. You didn't go join this club. 6 months later, you join another club. A year later, you somewhere else. It wasn't that way. And most of the times, if you got into that club, you stayed into that club just about for life. I mean, like I said, I've been around to different places, but I'm Golden Hawk. And anybody who knows me will know me as a Golden Hawk.
Okay, you already spoke on that. You're not happy with the set now. Okay, as far as the no loyalty, the distrust, and all of that. What do you think about? What do you think about now? What's the biggest difference? I mean, what do you think is the actual biggest difference? You want to stop it. What you do?
I didn't push it.
You just slide it.
Oh,
That's
shit. I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem.
The biggest difference.
I mean, again, knowing the shit you see now, like you said, a lot of shit it wouldn't happen. Whatever issues had to be handled right then and there.
Right.
That shit was handled, done. You didn't bring that shit back, and you never even heard about it. Now, like for me, one of the biggest things about the set now is that one of the biggest problems I have, and I preach this all the time. How do you not like me or have a problem with me, and I don't know it first? You know, a motherfucker don't like sale before sale. No, how's that?
Again, that's that larceny that's coming up, because here again, like I said, if you had a problem with somebody, you took care of that problem with somebody right then. Okay. If I had a problem with one of my sisters, or you had, y'all brought this stuff to, wasn't no he said, she said, or whatever, or I have to hear it across town next week. Y'all attack. Look, I heard you said so and so and so and so and so. We're going to squash you and that. And then, too, most of the time, if I said it, I said it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But you all came to that right now. Y'all hashed it out. Y'all got mad. Y'all fought. Y'all, there have been a couple of cut fights, that we had behind some things like that. One-on-one, not with no guns or nothing like that. It was just straight out battling with it. We got it out. We cussed it out. And you move on.
Yeah.
If I don't want to deal with you no more, I don't deal with you no more.
Okay.
Simple as that. I don't come back and hang around and talk about you. I'm done with you. I'm done with you. We don't come back and bring back up this and I'm done with you. Period. And that's the way we did that. So we kept down a lot of confusion that way. I don't know if because now we've just got so many people on the set with so many different personalities. I don't even think people get into motorcycle clubs, like you say, for the reasons that we got into, right, and so of loving motorcycles and loving each other. Okay, they don't do that. I don't know. Some of the reasons, I've seen women with some reasons trying to find this and find that, and I guess people got their own reasons, but I think it's destroyed the set. It's just destroyed it. And not only is it destroying the set, it's destroying individual clubs as well.
Yeah.
So,
do you believe Georgia have too many clubs right now? You think it's too many clubs in Georgia? Or should that ever even be an issue?
I'm not being an issue. First of all, it's being too many clubs. I don't think it should be. The thing is, people support who they support.
Period.
Oh, period. Okay, we got an instance on this past Saturday night. There were 4 or 5 folk had something going on here that people that I like and I needed, want to give them that love and whatever. But you just can't do that. I mean, you can't put
Be
yourself
everywhere at
and
one.
be
Yeah.
everywhere at
Yeah.
one time. So you pick and choose, and you holler at them, and you go on. The other clubs shouldn't get angry with you because you didn't make it that time, because they're going to have something else again that you can turn around and you can support for that time. Uh, Everybody just can't support
But I
everybody
mean, you are
because there's
popular
so
though. And if
many.
you don't show up, people, I can see him working with feelings. If T went to they spot, they come up.
But here again, Saturday night I wasn't able to make all those places.
Yeah.
I went down to Warner Robins. We come back. I tried to hit. Especially with my health issues and all. I really do try to give that love because that love is shown to me.
Yeah.
When I go places and I see people and they're like, "Hey T," and they want to give me a hug and we're gonna take our selfies, and we love each other.
Yeah.
We truly, I feel that love. If it's any fake folk out there, I think they stay away from me.
Yeah.
They might smile and stand back, but they're not going to be the ones that's going to be hugging on me and all. And then, believe it or not, people really love people.
Yeah.
Genuine type love, no bull jive. And the women out there, some of them, Lord help their soul, the man, if he want to be with you, Peachy said it best. If he, don't run him, if he wants you, he'll catch you.
Yeah.
But, I hate the treachery that the women have against each other about men. You know what I'm saying? I think they need to love each other and support each other and keep each other lifted up.
So you saying
it's not carry stuff
enough
down.
dick and pussy for everybody?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Everybody, and here again, if y'all share, if y'all don't mind sharing, that's all right too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just love each other. Just love each other. Shucks. What's gonna be is what's gonna be. And you can't keep nothing that don't want to be kept, and you can't keep nothing that ain't yours no how. So enjoy it. Like Isley Brothers, love the one you with.
Yeah.
When you with them, because you might not never see them again. And tomorrow, if you got to love somebody else, love somebody else. Long as you don't, because what people do ain't got nothing to do with you no how.
Yeah.
And nothing to do with you. So you just do you.
So let me ask you this. One of the things I preach on too is everybody taking from the bike set. Nobody is giving.
Yes, you do, country. You always get your hug.
Oh, so country. He told me to give you a hug.
He always get his. I get my hugs
from So Country.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things too, like I said, I love trying to preach on and trying to get this bond back together is that a lot of people are taking from the bike set and not giving. How do you feel about that? What do you think? What do you think a person can give to the bike set? If you, period, just on your own, what can you give to the bike set?
You give your love of motorcycles. You give your love of people. That energy when we're all together and the bikes are running and throttling up, and that whole energy is just. It's infectious. It's healing.
Yeah.
It's just soul stirring. It just helps you. It's your survival. It just helps to keep you going.
Question: how does she feel about the change of the set with it being female MCs?
I'm proud of our female motorcycle clubs and the motorcycle riders. I have no problems with them. I'm very glad that they can do this because here again, when I came along, you really didn't need to be seen riding a bike, much less being in a motorcycle club. And here again, I know a lot of people ask me that question about me. As long as I've been with the Hawks, where I've not joined or been a member and I ride and whatever, I guess I'm back from old school. At the time when I came along, women just didn't do that.
Period.
Period. Maybe I'm just old school. I love it that they're doing that. I'm loving that they're riding the bikes. I'm loving that they're handling that. It's just that I have no choice or choose not to be in a motorcycle club.
Okay.
I'm enjoying all the benefits that I wanted to do, and at the time, the only benefit was riding. You could ride without being in a club.
Okay.
You rode because you joined the club because you want to be with that group of people to do that. So, but everybody would just ride. So,
So you say you're proud of them?
I'm proud of
What was
them.
the first female motorcycle club in Atlanta that you know of?
First real female.
You heard his name.
Okay, okay. The first. I just want to throw this out here though. But the first club to even have a woman motorcycle member was the Golden Cross, and that was Creasy. Creasy right now is in the nursing home. Bless her. I ask for prayers for every day, but she was the first female member of a motorcycle club
Okay.
here
In Georgia.
in Georgia, yeah, in Golden House.
What kind of bike did she have?
She had, I think, it's anybody out there want to tell me right, but I think Creasy had that old 800 Kawasaki, didn't she?
800 Kawasaki.
I think it was an 800 Kawasaki. Because, like I said, the only bikes he rode then was 750 Hondas and, like you said, choppers, Kawasaki, Suzuki's.
Okay.
That was just about all that everybody rode back then. You had a Harley. It was a piece of Harley. And what happened, and I guess I'm changing. I came into the set was when the Super Rides came in and they had number gold wings. Now that was something we had never seen before in our lives.
Okay.
So that was impressive.
Okay.
Yeah, they were impressive. They wore their suits. They wore their motorcycles. And at that time, gold wings cost pretty much. So you pretty much had to have a pretty good job in order to buy those things.
So you don't have a clue as to what was the first female?
Oh, I really want to say Queens of the South.
The first female club?
As far as official female club that said they had a name and that's what they were. Well, no, take that back.
You guys.
No, take that back. I'm wrong because they're not a club now. The first club, and I cannot think. Oh, Barbara was in that club. Oh, Barbara, shucks, what was the name of that female club? Let's show you how it was. But yeah, there was one. But I cannot, the name, if I sit here long enough, I might think about it.
So let me ask you this now, like now, to start a club or to start a chapter in a city, you're supposed to have a blessing of the outlaws, but now they have all these different little other things you have to go through now, the councils and stuff like that. How do you feel? Does that help the transition, or does that just...
Well, it helps. It helps the transit. Anything can help, but I don't know. Looks like this motorcycle thing now, instead of a hobby or a recreation like boat riding, it's turning into a business. You know what I'm saying? And in doing so and making it a business, it's taking all the fun out.
Okay.
We used to have fun. Now it's so business-like.
Yeah.
The rules and the regulations, and I understand that those things help, but also sometimes too much of that is just too much. It takes the whole fun out of riding your motorcycle. Going where you want to go, putting on your miles, not going nowhere if you don't want to go.
Yeah.
If you just want to go around the corner, because I was one of them, when I rode, I went from clubhouse to clubhouse to clubhouse.
And that was it.
When it came out of town, I was, like I said, I would either ride on the back with somebody and then we'd have to make that shift or whatever. But most of the time, if we were out of town, I didn't ride. I didn't drive.
Yeah.
Okay, it was clubhouse to clubhouse to clubhouse to clubhouse. It's just no fun anymore.
Yeah.
Just no fun.
So, in turning things around, what do you think we need to start at?
I have pondered about that and cried about that. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I just can't pinpoint one thing to be able to do so, because if you could just take a magic wand and wish over there and make everybody feel the same way, it would be so much easier. But people are in this thing for so many of the wrong reasons. Uh, and like I said, that loyalty is just not there anymore.
Yeah.
You call me your brother or you call me your sister, and you're the one that's stabbing me in the back. You know, and that hurts. I mean, not only is it just messed up, but the person that you're doing to, believe it or not, those folk have feelings, and if they felt that for you, uh, it just hurts to think that they would just diss you that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Get back, Agnes, get back. Get up for that Sam.
We got a special guest in the house.
Move, Agnes.
Miss Agnes up in there. She wants her attention.
Go sit.
So you said the fun.
The fun, yeah, the fun. Oh, and when I'm talking about fun, you know, when we're all together, y'all can't say that we don't have fun. I'm Bread Beach Blast, King of the South anniversary, Roundup. When we get together and we're actually out there for that purpose of enjoying each other and the bikes and the whole bike scene, we have a good time.
Do you think it should be? Do you think like the segregation, like you spoke on earlier, how you guys used to go over to the Outlaws and Outlaws used to come over to Golden Hawks? Like when I first got into the bike set, one of the things that, you know, I had some great teachers, the regulators, my man Snowman, Quentin. I mean, they really are big on education and history and stuff like that. One of the things I was taught too was that we don't do them, you know, we don't do them, the white bikers, and they don't do us. Do you think that we need to get that back, or do you think the way it is, just keep it the way it is now?
I don't know if that's possible, because you had a different caliber of men.
Yeah.
And thoughts and ideas and things were different then. This younger set, I love my young people. I love them to death, don't get me wrong, but sometimes they're a little bit too hot-headed. Sometimes they're a little bit too ego-tripping, trying to prove a point, which don't make no difference, because 30 years down the road, it ain't going to make a bit of difference in the world. Sometimes they just need to sit back and look and watch, or just sit back and just enjoy.
Yeah.
Just enjoy and not try to be the best of this or the biggest that or the, you know, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And what will be is what'll come to them. It'll come to them. They will be the biggest or and the best of that if they just
because
sit back and enjoy.
You've
earned that. Right. So I just wish they'd cool down a little bit. I understand that the Black Lives Matter too doesn't help it any, but we need to calm our tempers down.
Okay, now that you mentioned that, what about police officers and motorcycle clubs?
Oh, back then it was shoot. Right now, you know, I can see members of the police force that are actual members of motorcycle clubs. Back then, you were harassed. You were, I mean, just like I said, if you went out of town and you were a biker and you went to certain truck stops to stop to get your gas or to get some food, I mean, the police would come and they would surround you and they would stay there with you until you left the premises. Whoa. And they would escort you back
on the freeway out of there.
Especially to look into the line of the county of that time.
Yeah.
We had that happen to us in Mississippi.
Okay.
Tupelo, the whole thing that just surrounded us, and stayed with us until we left. It didn't bother us. But then you had some little small towns like down in Noonan down there. They would actually give you tickets or impound on your bikes or whatever because they could, and because they felt that bikers had a reputation that they were awful bad. They were gonna kill you, rape your women.
I mean, but where did that come from? It had to be happening for people to get it.
I think it was just something that was
just made of TV.
I think it came off of TV with the movies.
Yeah.
What's that guy made that movie?
Easy
Peter
Rider,
Fonda or
Easy Rider.
somebody? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think that came from television.
yeah,
Um, because you had clubs like the grand, you had all these Shriners, not Shriners, the Masons, and you had all these different other clubs around here
yeah.
that did other things. So I just think TV gave them a bad image. Plus, you had the clubs out west, but I still think they were trying to live up to that image that was on TV.
Okay, question just came in. What's up, Big Sir? Ask her about the clubs who don't ride or have events where you see 200 people and 10 bikes outside. How do you feel about that?
Well, my thing with this is, if you're a motorcycle club, you ought to have motorcycles.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Bottom line.
How can you not be a motorcycle club and you don't ride motorcycles? So I don't even see the point, and you won't even be in a motorcycle club if you don't have a motorcycle. So, with that, but if you go to the events and you don't ride your bike for whatever reason, I mean, folk can do ride what they want to ride.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If it's raining, you ain't got to prove no point to me that you can ride in the rain and ride your bike here and risk having an accident if you're not used to doing so. I mean, folk need to do what they do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you having a bike event and there's no motorcycles outside, I mean, what can I say? But if you in that club and you inside in there and you got MC on your back, you ought to have a motorcycle.
It should be a motorcycle. So if it ain't nothing but the club that's hosting the party, their motorcycle should be outside.
Right. You know, you ought to have a motorcycle. So, at least the club, like you said, the club that's having the event should have. And that was at one point in time. I don't know about other clubs now, but at one point in time with the Golden Horse, it was mandatory that if it was an anniversary,
you had to be on the
You
ground.
rode your bike.
Rain,
You rode your bike up there. You might get your daughter, your brother, your sister, somebody take you back home, change
your bike
clothes,
was at the club.
or what? But your bike was at the clubhouse. And as a matter of fact, I tell you one thing. I do have this thing about. Like I said, we used to sleep in motorcycles clubs when we went places. But it just seemed kind of strange to me sometimes to go places and you have a motorcycle club and you don't have a motorcycle sitting inside somewhere. Because at one point, members, instead of riding their bike home and sometimes going somewhere and getting in the car, they just left their bikes
at the clubhouse. So you said when you go to the clubhouse, a motorcycle clubhouse, it's supposed to be a motorcycle inside the clubhouse.
In there somewhere. It looks like to me. I mean, that just seems like to me it ought to be
a motorcycle club in the motorcycle clubhouse.
Right, have motorcycles.
Yeah.
That was just, it's a motorcycle club.
Yeah.
If a member don't want to drive his bike home or keep his bike, say he don't ride except when he come from the club or something because he stay too far away from, to drive. So he leaves his bike at the club so that when he come to the club, he can ride and whatever and put it back there and then drive 100 miles back home. I think that, that ought to be, you're in a motorcycle club. So
let me ask you this. Somebody mentioned social clubs. What was the role of a social club back then?
Social and savings clubs, what they started out.
So it was called social and savings?
Social and savings clubs were what they started out to be, and they were just that. There were men or either women or groups, churches, whatever. They got together as a social club. They had functions, they raised money, they paid dues, they did different things, and they did different things for the community. They took trips. They were their own club doing those things.
So it wasn't related to the motorcycle club?
At that time, it was not related to motorcycle clubs. They started as they got bigger and being social as they are and started going places, and motorcycle clubs had clubhouses.
Okay.
Because they were the equivalent of the 617 on Simpson or all the little in the hole in the wall clubs. There were places to go. So somebody, I'm assuming, started dating somebody that was in a social and saving club. I know in my particular case, I was in the social club and super riders. My old man was in the super riders at that time. So we
You
were
brought them in.
right. We were going trying to raise money for our social and saving club. So I pitched it to them. Like can we have stuff at
The clubhouse.
the clubhouse and not have to pay, or we give y'all X amount of money or whatever,
Cheaper
blah
than
blah 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 blah.
renting,
Cheaper,
yeah.
yeah, than trying to go. Cause we were having these little teas and
I
things
got
in
you.
each other's houses back during that time. So this gave us a chance to really get out and make some money,
Yeah.
and they will have a following anyway. So we identified ourselves with that club, and eventually we got to be their sister club. So that way we at the clubhouse all the time. Then we would fix food and stuff for them, and when we had our anniversary, they would escort us out, and vice versa.
Okay.
So that was how we, the socialites, came associated with bike clubs. With the super riders, several clubs, social and savings clubs, which there were not a lot at that time, but they came. Blaze could probably fill you in on that a little bit better because she was in one, and they would visit the super riders.
Okay.
And they would visit the pace setters. They would visit those places.
Yeah.
And eventually, everybody that was looking to party and have a good time and start partying and have a good time with each other.
So they just kind of, that's kind of how they just started.
Right. They just kind of,
yeah.
right.
So the truth is, social clubs were never a part of the MC originally.
Originally, right.
And then they just, because, like you said, one person was dating a motorcycle cat or whatever, and them looking for the savings, were somehow kind of got merged.
Right. But yeah, they were social and savings club. Had nothing to do with motorcycles. Just basically just their own little entity.
Carla saying, it was the Sunday teas
Right,
at different
right,
clubhouses.
that's right. That's what I'm saying. The Sunday teas were at different clubhouses, and like I said, the motorcycle clubs then were the equivalent of the clubs that were up and down Simpson, up and down Bankhead, that we as people frequented back then, because we didn't go to the TGI Fridays or to the other clubs downtown, because first of all they didn't have motorcycles. They would have never had them there in the first place. So and when you went to those motorcycle clubhouses, the people always treated you so nice, especially the ladies. If you came up in there, there was no harassing. Like if you go to Hamilton Road to the club, you go in, sit down at the bar. Yeah. So see, that gave us a reprieve from that type of harassment.
I got you.
Yeah, just like first time I met the Kings and I came to y'all's clubhouse, everybody's just so nice, and they could say, you need anything, blah 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 blah. You go to.
Well, that's one of the things too. I try to tell people. Like for me, it's hard for me to go to any regular club because I'm on motorcycle shit now. So
right.
And it's the respect that's given to you at a motorcycle club. You're not getting patted down. You're not supposed to be getting patted down.
Right.
Some of these new MCs with this.
Yeah, they
patting
do.
niggas down shit.
They do. And they do.
But anyway, that I'm just more familiar and more comfortable at motorcycle club functions than going to regular clubs or whatever. So
yeah. Even though the drinks are better and higher, but it just doesn't still give you that about this life feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I understand you're trying to sponsor and try to help folk with this and that and the other, but back then, like I said, and the older ones know, Cujo, all of them know, if you were a motorcycle club, you went to motorcycle clubhouses, and that was it. Period. The only time that you might not have been at your clubhouse for something was during anniversary, that you might go and rent someplace bigger, some town hall,
or smaller buildings,
or some other building in order to host your anniversary. But other than that, you did everything at your clubhouse. Funerals, just like the strikers and everybody know. Everything was done at your clubhouse. People got married at the clubhouse. Everything was done at your clubhouse.
For real motorcycles.
Yeah, you know, everything was done there. That was your family. That was your home. My children were raised in the president's room in their buggies and stuff because we all took care of each other's children and we stayed at the clubhouse.
Yeah.
That was what we did. You know, that was our home away from home. Stop. Yeah, that, you know, we were family.
Yeah.
We were truly family. You know, you went to grandmama if grandmama passed, or a homecoming, or foot washing, whatever the family your own immediately family did. Your biker family did it with you as well. You know, there have been lots of bikers that have gone down to LaGrange and Pine Mountain with me, or our family picnics and fish fries and what have you. Thanksgiving, this house used to be filled with outcasts because my mama would cook Thanksgiving dinner and juke and handgun and all that whole crew of people would come over here and they would eat.
Let's talk about
You
that.
know?
I'm glad you brought that up. You say the bike set has the stigma of being rowdy, or you know, we have that untrue perception.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the names: sticks, handgun. So where did that part? Where did the part come from where we have to appear tough, even though we not as tough as we appear? Where did that come from?
You know, I still want to say television. I don't know. I still want to say that the perception that we got off of television, or that movie back in the day, or what images came out of California as, you know, the bikers with the long beards
Yeah.
and the what have you. You know, I see those pictures and I'm thinking we're just trying to be that way, because believe it or not, considering, like you said, some of the Masons and some of the other different clubs, when I started going to biker clubs at that time, biker clubs were the nicest bunch of folk than some of the other folk. And see, back during those days too, van clubs were real popular.
My daddy was in a van club.
Okay, and see, cause van clubs had their club. A lot of the van club people ended up being motorcycle people.
Yeah, my dad was in all for one van.
The van, okay. And van club, we had one over here on Lee Street.
Yeah.
Ebony Travelers, and most of them ended up being super riders in motorcycles after the van club. But their clubhouse was right here on Lee Street, right here at the corner of Lee Street and Avon. And social and savings clubs, they used to come there. But they had a different image.
Yeah.
But on the side, all the van club guys rode motorcycles. You know, and that's when they got to be the bad boy.
Okay.
You know, they were van club riders with the little, you know, the coordinated clothes on nice. And then at nighttime, they rode the bikes and they were just bad guys. It's something about the sound of that throttle that I guess makes you want to be a bad guy. You know, that sound, that whoosh, that
well, a lot of it, I think a lot of it has to do now with a lot of these cats. For me, man, a lot of cats that I know, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't know, don't mean no harm, but a lot of the cats that I know that were regular motorcycle riders, when they switch clubs and become, let's say, part of an OMC, they change into a whole different person. And that's always been a mind-boggling thing for me, because before you were in that particular OMC and you were just in a regular motorcycle club,
right,
we could talk and have fun and laugh. But now, you know, when I see you now, it's, you know, we act like we don't even know each other.
Right.
And I don't know if that's something that the OMC instilled in you, or is regulations for the OMC, but it's just amazing to me.
Now see, that's the way it looks. It looks like it's regulation for them, because the same thing that's happened to me with some property of.
Yeah.
You know, we were all friends and sisters all before then, and then when you go there, you know, you can't even. I see you at the club, I can't even talk to you unless you get permission to say hello to me.
Yeah.
Or you can talk to me for a few minutes, but then you got to go off, or we can't go over here and sit at the table. You know, you got to be with your folks. So, I've had that happen to me. I just think it's just part of the demeanor that they're supposed to have, being who they are. You know? I mean, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, and like I say, that's that. So, there it is. That's your history lesson about Atlanta. What else between you say you've seen some wars come and go, and you've seen
Yeah, we've had wars, and some of the wars I'm really not at liberty to even talk about
yeah
because even still, in spite of you know things, but you still don't talk about them,
yeah it's
and
the
that's
unwritten
just
rule. Yeah,
that's the
keep
rule
it
of
to
the thing.
yourself.
But we've had wars, and apparently we're still having wars. Uh, I can't make sense of the ones that we're having now no more than the ones I could make sense of
Back
back
then,
then.
okay.
Um, and why we have to have this hatred and battle back and forth for each other, it's not like you trying to have a certain territory, or this is my side of the road, or it's not
Yeah,
that type of thing. So I don't understand why we battling against each other to prove what. I don't understand what you're trying to prove.
yeah.
Prove what? That you the baddest? What? Baddest of what? Well, I
Yeah.
mean, what? I don't understand all of this. What they're trying to do. So, uh, I don't know if it'll ever stop because it's going on a lot more now. Look, well, it was prevalent back then, but
Yeah.
they just took care of you and that was done. You know, they just they did. They just took care of it and it was done. Now it's a lot of back and forth, back and forth. You do this and I gotta retaliate. You do that, then you gotta come back and do this. When really we don't even know
The original product
original.
ain't even got
Right,
us
we
right
ain't
here
figured
anyway.
out who was right or
Yeah.
wrong or whatever in the first place when we started. What this was all even about.
Yeah.
So that's what they need to figure out. What they're mad at each other about. Why they're
Mm.
angry with each other. And if you don't want to come and visit me or support me, then just don't.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bother you for the folk that support you,
Yeah.
and the folk that come in town to visit you. I'm not gonna bother you about them.
Yeah.
Everybody just do who they do, and then that way you shouldn't have any problems because we're not interacting with each other.
Mm.
You just stay on your side. So, find out the problem. If they can't, just stay away.
Well, there it is, there, man. I'm with the sweet tea, man. I hope you guys have learned something. Is there anything you want to leave the people with?
No, I would just, I know things can't come back, and the past is past, and now it's now. I just wish we'd love each other. Uh, they said that 10 hugs a day helps to stimulate you and to keep you living longer. Just love each other and hug each other, and let it be just about the motorcycles. Not who's got what house or who's got what job, or just about the motorcycles. That's what you like to do and that you ride. And if you don't feel like riding, it's okay. Nobody cares you don't ride.
Yeah.
If you got the bike, you used to ride it.
I do. She gonna let you
I
get the
know
pass.
you used to ride it or
no
whatever.
pass.
Fine, okay, all right. But I just want y'all to love each other. That's all.
Well, there it is, there, man. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys got some of your questions answered. This is part one. Tonight I'm doing another interview tonight that's going to blow your socks off too. I have another great guest for tonight. And again, these OGs, man, this is all I do. Everywhere I go, that's what I'm doing. I'm seeking out an OG to get knowledge, to confirm, some of these different things that I've been taught on the set, to hopefully make me a better person, to hopefully where I can leave something on the set instead of taking everything. So, again, y'all know I love y'all. T love y'all. And her whole thing is just, let's get some respect back, man.
Yeah.
Get some respect back and definitely get some love back for what this all is about, the motorcycle club. So, there it is there. Love y'all. Peace, Middle East, hair grease, all that other good stuff. And number one, ride your motorcycle. Y'all already know that. She gonna get you pass.
Yeah, ride your motorcycle.
I ain't get. They gotta ride. Tell them again.
Yeah, ride your motorcycle. At least have a motorcycle.
At least have.
At least have a motorcycle.
At least have one.
Yeah, at least have one.
Well, there it is. It's your boy Big Set Up FHO ATLANTA GA. I hope y'all enjoyed this, man. And again, don't forget tonight, 8:30 p.m. tonight, I'll be going live again with another headbanger. I promise you. It's your boy Sel. I'm gone. Peace.
That was received rather well, wasn't it?
It was. Trust me.
I'm surprised.
They loved it. Let me see.
I'm surprised.
I'm not. We need it.